us to go in depth with this topic, joining us in the studio is grief survivor and Grief Talk ID co-founder Nirasha Darusman. Good morning, Nira. Thank you so much for being here with us. It's such a pleasure.
Thank you. It's an honor for me. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Nira. And we also have here in my hand her book that was published back in 2021, Lost and Found. This is a very personal story of yours.
Yes, it is.
This pretty much encapsulates your journey. Understanding grief and overcoming grief. Could you please tell us what that journey was like?
It's a big question for the first question. Well, the journey was long for me because I lost 4 members of my immediate family from 2007 until 2014. And not until late 2017 I started to process my grief because at the time I was diagnosed with mild depression. So it turns out I didn't process my grief during the process. During those times, I thought I was processing it. I thought I moved on. I thought I was living my life, and that's that. But then I went into 2 weeks of crying mode. Like I was sad all the time without knowing exactly why I was sad. And then I went to see a psychologist, and then I got diagnosed with mild depression, unresolved grief, and anxiety after loss.
At that time when you said that, turns out that you didn't process it. Each one of us, whenever we try to deal with difficult emotions, we have survival mechanism, right? What was your survival mechanism at that time that, hey, turned out that was not how I should process this difficult emotion?
Yes, that's a very important question, because as human, we have our intuitive on how to manage this, but it's not necessarily the right thing to do. So in my case, my first loss was back in 2007 when I lost my younger brother. He was 24 because of AIDS, and my initial reaction is to be strong for my parents.
Of course.
Because for me, in my thought, I only lost my brother. But for my parents, they lost their youngest son. I couldn't begin to imagine how would that make them feel. So my initial reaction was I had to be strong. And that became my self-defense mechanism to all the losses that came after that. And then I realized that was not the best thing to process everything, because I didn't process. I just moved on with my life.
You were high functioning for 10 years.
Yes.
Totally high functioning.
Yes, of course. And sometimes I think when people, especially when you go through, those very circumstances, especially you have your 4 immediate members of your family that you lost, and you would sometimes the support from people is you're going to be okay. You're going to be strong. I'm going to pray for you.
I have to live my life. I still have life.
Life still goes on, but sometimes you don't validate your emotions and like your feelings. You don't even give time for yourself because you know you have to be strong for, let's say, for your parents, for your other siblings and whatnot. So then you think that you have to be strong enough. So I just wonder, when during those times when you already felt like I am not well, how can you finally know and you're aware of it when this feeling of grief and sadness crept into your life until you finally went to a professional to help?
To be completely honest, I kept denying it. I was such a stubborn, still is.
Strong woman does, by the way.
Yes, we need those traits. So, so I kept denying because society, society thought us to be strong. Society thought us to move on with our lives, and especially as women, we need to prove to society that we can do this. So I kept denying it, and if that moment of me 2 weeks crying without stopping didn't happen, I don't think I will survive this. I mean, I don't think I will start my healing journey. That was like a wake-up call for me. This is not right. I have to manage this. I have to process everything, because it's only true for you to cry when you lose the people that is very significant to your life.
Of course.
Yeah.
How did you do the process in the end when you realized, hey, I need to like straighten all these emotional kinks now? What kind of things did you go through to finally reach some sort of equilibrium, some sort of peace, even though grieving probably is a forever process, because each time we remember the people that we lost, either it's because of death or because they just left. So what was the step-by-step for you at the time?
After going through therapies with my psychologist, I started seeing things clearly, and I started to realize that I need to learn about grief. I need to know what is grief.
What is grief? What is grief?
I think grief is love.
Oh.
Yeah, because when you love this person so much, you will grieve as much.
Yeah.
I think grief is love, but it's just like quoting Andrew Garfield, like grief is just love that, you know, you cannot express it anymore because the person that you love is not there anymore. So I think grief is love. And for me to be able to have that kind of understanding makes me finally accept that I will grieve forever, and that's okay. To answer your question, how do I start the process? I started to find books that can help me. I started to read books. I started to read memoir books from people who experience grief, and that's where I validate my emotions because they feel the same way too, and that's okay. And that's actually like a wake-up call, a spiritual journey for me, because now I know I can cry, but I can be happy at the same time, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Because before I thought when I cry or when I'm being sad, that means I'm not grateful for whatever I have right now. It's actually it's not that.
Right. So I'm very curious to know, because I think with you like sharing these kind of stories also reflect to ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we have the same kind of, you know, emotions that is going on with you and whatnot, so we can reflect to that too. So in regards to this, I was wondering, throughout 2004 until 2017, or when you were grieving, how does it affect your life, for your work, your day-to-day activities, until you finally knew that, aside from crying, you knew there were some changes within you that you know that it's time for me to get help? How did it affect your daily life?
That's a very good question and important, because clearly I was not living like truly. I was a living zombie. We talked before. I just tried to like live my life day by day. Like, okay, sometimes I couldn't feel the joy because I don't want to feel the sadness and the pain. So to put it simply, I was a living zombie. After the therapies, after the hours of me working on myself, I realized, I remember this clearly. I was in Bali after work, not holiday, but I was in Bali watching sunset. And then I started to cry. That was 2019 or something. And I was like, oh my God, this is how it feels to feel everything.
Oh my gosh, right.
And I didn't know that kind of feeling before, because I blocked myself from the sadness feeling, from the grief. And eventually I blocked myself from every feeling. So that was like, oh my God, I didn't really live my life before.
So you even block your happiness and joy and everything. You were like emotionless.
Because later I knew you couldn't just block one feeling. When you block one feeling, I mean, you couldn't just block, when you block one feeling, you block everything. That's just the way it works.
Wow, so you were a zombie pretty much.
Yeah, I was a zombie.
For 12 years.
Yeah, I was not like completely feel all the emotions that came.
So in 2019, you had that cathartic moment. And in 2020, it was pretty much the year when you founded grieftalk.id. And then in 2021, you wrote this book, Lost and Found, as also probably because you read books, you read stories of other people grieving. You also inspire others by producing your own book.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. So tell us about this grieftalk.id. What is it about, and how does it become almost the oasis of support for each other. For those who are grieving.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to put it. The idea came to me after the therapy sessions and the book reading, because I thought, okay, I need to express everything, every emotion, and I don't think it's fair for me to, you know, always talk to my husband because he've never experienced grief. And I thought, hey, I know that maybe in the West, there's support groups. And I tried to find support groups here in Jakarta, but I couldn't find it. And I thought, maybe I should just create one. But I wasn't ready for it. It was 2018, I wasn't ready. And then the pandemic happened, and then I saw people maybe need this.
Oh yes, a lot of people passed away.
And then that was, the pandemic was the online meetup era. So I thought maybe I can start with online meetup. So I did. And then it was a monthly meeting. It was a monthly meeting, and it was, I mean, I thought I processed my grief, but then I realized that I have not processed everything, and that support group also helped me personally. And then I found people alike, people who suffer the same thing, people who go through similar experience. And then I thought, well, I don't have to go through this alone. We don't have to go through this alone. We can, you know, hold hands and cry together, and that's okay. Nobody's going to judge. So that's the safe space that we are trying to create. So, and then a year after, I was joined by two co-founders, Jihan Alfarel and Sarah. And then together we try to build this community even bigger. So we make social media, and we try to make like classes for grieving, and we try to educate.
For grieving?
Yeah, we try to educate people about the importance of just feeling your feelings, because that's okay. And then we can cry without being judged, and we can create this safe space. And it's okay to grieve, because grief is love.
You don't have to have that poker face, right? You can be transparent and become yourself and whatnot. In just regard to this, I think it's just very interesting that finally now there are some support system, like you were saying before, abroad. I think it's very common, but it seems it's very uncommon here in Indonesia. Good thing for Grief Talk ID. With that said, how do you think of a huge ordeal, the importance of having a support system like Grief Talk ID, or even a support system that is very close, dear to your heart, like your husband or your children or your brother and your sister and your inner circle family? How is it important to have that support system?
It is very, very, very important. I mean, support group is one thing, but I won't be sitting here without my family, my husband, my 2 kids, my best friends, who we've been friends for more than, I don't know, 15 years. So I wouldn't be here without them. And yes, it's important to have support group, because we know we are going through the same thing, and the support group will be able to validate our emotions, because that's the most important thing, to be able to finally be in the acceptance stage. Because without validating, without telling yourself it's okay to feel everything, you would be that. And then once you are in the acceptance stage, once you accept everything, that this loss does not define you, this loss is just what happened to you, you will be able to move forward and live your day with open arms.
And feeling a little bit more alive.
Yes.
Because I think sometimes when we're talking to someone that doesn't or didn't go through what we went through, we're thinking, you don't know how I feel. Because you didn't go through what I went through, right?
But that raises an important question, Kay. If we see someone who's grieving, especially if we love this person, right? Sometimes we go into this worried mode. And when we go into this worried mode for this person that we love, we say, unfortunately, the wrong things. So what should we say, and what should we say? The do's and the don'ts.
Okay, that's a very good question. Well, disclaimer, everyone will always have good intentions.
Of course.
But we just need to know what to say, because sometimes maybe we would say something that is very common, like, please be strong and things will pass and you will be okay.
Yeah.
It's not that we don't need that, but we are already doing those things. We don't need to be told to be strong, because when that happens, you ultimately need to be strong.
Yes.
So we don't need that. Yeah. What we may need maybe is, well, to the least, condolences and offering prayers is the least thing that we can do. And maybe just a real help, like being a friend that you just be there and listen to whatever this person is going to say, and to talk, and maybe just not talk, just be there, and maybe give real help, like offering helping hand, or
or sometimes sending food.
Exactly.
Because people who are grieving, they tend to forget to eat.
Forget to eat. Yes.
That's just the most common thing. Because I remember when my dad passed away 3 years ago, all my friends like, okay,
food.
What do you want to eat?
Yeah.
Right now, because we just can't think of anything else.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, that's true. That's true. And the easiest thing is to give donation, if you will, because when the process is going to be long, and we don't know the condition of the family when you lost, maybe the person that passed away is somebody who's the breadwinner of the family. So we never know. So donation is always the best thing that we can do.
And sometimes when I meet up with my friends, especially when they're like, oh, I need to go and meet with you, I want to talk about something. I was like, I want to curhat about something. I said, do you need my opinion, or do you want me to just listen? Because if you just want me to listen, I'll be just there for you to vent out.
That's perfect.
And then I will not say anything. We'll just have a cup of coffee and a lunch after that, In regards to all of this, I think every people's healing journey will be different. Yours will be different, mine, Marissa's will be different, and whatnot. But how can we eventually find ourselves to know that we need to have healing and to go through those processes? Because those processes will not be easy, because we have to kind of see the emotion back again, happen in the past, or we have to, if let's say the grief, the person is still alive, we have to meet with that person again. It's like we're seeing our problems right in front of our face, but we know we have to go through that in order for us to go to a healing.
Sorry, the question?
Yeah, how do we process the healing? And how can we be brave enough, I think, for us to...
Well, the first step, in my experience, I'm not an expert, so everything that I say here is only because I've experienced loss. But in my experience, it's very important to find support group so that these people won't judge you. Because it's easy for you to just bury your emotions because society told you to do that. So it's very important to find support group, and then you need to feel your feelings. I always told my family, my new family in Grief Talk, that there's no way to be able to be out of pain. To feel the pain. There's no other way. You have to feel the pain to be able to be out of the pain. So that's like the first very important step. Just
you have to acknowledge that the pain will be there.
Yes, and then you have to. I don't want to say you have to accept, because acceptance will come. Acceptance will come.
Their own timing.
Their own timing. But you have to put effort for healing. You have to put effort, and for every person is different. For me, I had to see a psychologist. I had to write a book. I had to have support group, and then I don't say I'm healed, but I'm still on my process. And I think because I know that I will grieve forever, because this love is forever, and I say that I will be in this healing journey forever too, and that's okay.
And that's okay, indeed. So, grieftalk.id, we can find you on Instagram?
Yes, yes.
And do you have a website as well?
Oh, we don't, but hopefully this year we will.
All right, so...
They have classes too, so we can join in. And
exactly, there you go. You can find at grieftalk.id, and if you are a book reader or a bookworm like me, you can read Nirasha's story here, Lost and Found, because, Nirasha found other writers very helpful for her to process her grief, and hopefully you who are currently grieving will also find some solace or some peace from reading Nirasha Darusman's book, Lost and Found. Thank you so much, Nira, for sharing
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. It's an honor.
Thank you so much for sharing this kindness this morning.
Yes.
Lovely day.
Yeah. So we need to validate our emotion. Most
Absolutely.
definitely. And healing
No matter
has no
how hard.
time frame.
No,
That's what I get from this.
No.
Yes.
It's an ongoing process until the day I die, rather.
Yes.
That's the way I think about it, right, Kay?
Right.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. I'm with you.
Yes. And now we're going for a break. After the break, we still have lots more news stories for you. Thank you.
Thank you.